It is 6 p.m. here in Cairo. Time for the news bulletin, and we will be starting straight away with the main headlines. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi performed Eid al-Adha prayer at dawn on Friday at Misr Mosque in the new administrative capital. Senior state officials, including Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayyib, Minister of Defense and Military Production, General Abdel Majid Saqr, and a number of top army and police officials also performed the prayer alongside the president. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi greeted the Egyptian people and the Arab and the Muslim nations on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. On his social media account, the president said that the occasion represents noble meanings such as the sacrifice and love. The head of state wished welfare and prosperity for the nation. On her social media account, Egypt's First Lady Mrs. Intisar al-Sisi greeted the Egyptian people and the whole Muslim nation on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. The First Lady said that she had asked God Almighty to return those blessed days with happiness and prosperity for all nations. With the sunrise of the first day of Eid al-Adha, millions of Egyptians flocked onto the streets and squares to perform the early morning Eid prayers. Preachers nationwide stressed the necessity of spreading values of peace, love, cooperation, and tolerance, and excluding the feelings of hatred and violence. Families with their children also headed to the national parks and beaches, as well as the museums and the archaeological places to celebrate the occasion. Pilgrims were performing the last major ritual of the Hajj to Mecca on Friday, throwing stones at the 3 concrete walls, symbolizing the devil, as the Muslims around the globe celebrated the beginning of Eid al-Adha holiday. The details follow. As Muslims around the globe celebrated the beginning of the Eid al-Adha holiday, pilgrims performed the last major ritual of the Hajj, the stoning of the devil, on Friday. Starting at dawn, the more than 1.6 million Muslims taking part in the pilgrimage will throw 7 stones at each of the 3 concrete walls, symbolizing the devil, in the Mina Valley on the outskirts of the holy city of Mecca. The ritual commemorates Abraham's stoning of the devil at the 3 spots where it is said Satan tried to dissuade him from obeying God's order to sacrifice his son. This year's Hajj saw the authorities implementing a range of heat mitigation efforts alongside the wide-ranging crackdown on the illicit pilgrims, resulting in noticeably thinner crowds and the heavy security presence at the holy sites in Mecca and the surrounding areas. The measures were aimed at preventing a fatal repeat of last year's Hajj that saw 1,301 people die in temperatures that hit 51.8 degrees Celsius. 16 Palestinians were killed by the Israeli attacks in the Gaza Strip in continuous Israeli aggression despite the Muslim celebrations of Eid al-Adha. The air and tank fire attacks hit Jabalia, Gaza City's Tufah district, and Khan Yunis, and come a day after 37 people were killed in the Israeli attacks. According to the health ministry in Gaza, at least 4,335 people have been killed since Israel resumed the offensive on March the 18th, taking the war's overall toll to 54,607, mostly civilians. The Israeli occupation army also issued an evacuation order for residents of parts of the Gaza City. Amid the Israeli aggression in Gaza, thousands of people in the Palestinian enclave marked Eid al-Adha holiday by holding feast prayers on the edge of the destroyed mosques. With no fresh meat amid a hunger crisis induced by an Israeli ban on aid that was only eased over the past 2 weeks, Palestinians were struggling to celebrate one of the most important Islamic holidays. For the second year, Muslims in Gaza were not able to leave for Saudi Arabia to perform the Hajj pilgrimage. At the Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied Jerusalem, tens of thousands of worshippers also performed Eid prayers despite the Israeli army restrictions. Also, the Israeli settlers gathered outside the gates of the mosque and committed provocative acts directed against the worshippers. The United Nations Human Rights Chief, Volker Turk, demanded the United States lift the sanctions it imposed on 4 International Criminal Court judges, saying they were contrary to the rule of law. The United States imposed sanctions on 4 judges at the International Criminal Court, barring them entry to the U.S. over an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Human Rights Watch urged other nations to speak out and reaffirm the independence of the ICC, set up in 2002 to prosecute the individuals responsible for the world's gravest crimes when countries are unwilling or unable to do so themselves. A series of Israeli occupation airstrikes hit Beirut's southern suburbs overnight in a further violation of the November ceasefire. The Lebanese news agency said that it counted nearly a dozen strikes, including 2 which were very violent. The United Nations Special Coordinator for Lebanon said the strikes generated renewed panic and fear and called for a halt to any actions that could further undermine the cessation of hostilities. Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun condemned the Israeli occupation aggression on the eve of the holiday of Eid al-Adha, saying their strikes were proof of the aggressor's refusal of a just peace in the region. Russia mounted an intense and sustained barrage on Kiev overnight, with the missiles and drones targeting the Ukrainian capital, where there was a succession of large explosions. Authorities in Kiev reported that 1 person was killed and 20 people have been wounded, of whom 16 have been hospitalized in a series of powerful explosions. The explosions come days after the Ukrainian spies last weekend launched a major attack, destroying some of the Russian strategic bomber aircraft on the ground using drones hidden in wooden sheds. Minister of Labour Mohammed Gubran asserted the state's keenness on providing a safe investment environment for the investors in Egypt. Gubran also assured the Egyptian commitment to the international labour standards, highlighting the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in this regard. The minister's remarks came during his participation in the 113th International Labour Conference in Geneva. During his address, the minister highlighted the Egyptian efforts to enhance the compliance with the international standards and respect of the workers' rights. Gubran also reviewed the legislative framework that encourages the investment, especially the labour law ratified by President al-Sisi. The European Central Bank cut the interest rates as expected, but hinted at a pause in the easing cycle after inflation finally returned to the 2% target. With inflation just below 2%, the ECB President Christine Lagarde said that the bank for the 20 countries that share the euro was in a good position. With the current rate path, a signal investors took to mean a break in cuts, if not an end to the policy easing. Lagarde said that the interest rate path implied by the markets anticipates just 1 more cut in the deposit rate toward the end of the year, possibly in December. And this brings us to the end of the news bulletin for today. Thank you for watching and goodbye.